Hello everyone. For the video today, I'm going to dive deep into the Sparky Electric Jester series with an Iceberg format video. But what is the Iceberg video, you may ask? Well, it's a genre of YouTube video where you dive deep into the lore, secrets, and fun facts of a series or franchise that you like. In recent years, I've seen this type of video format blow up on YouTube, so I decided to give my own shot at it with our favorite Electric Jester. Without further ado, I hope you sit back and relax since this is a long one and you enjoy the Iceberg of Sparky Electric Jester. How deep does it go? Let's find out. Okay, so the first item on this list is Sparky Electric Jester itself. Sparky Electric Jester is an indie platforming franchise that is highly inspired from retro games of the likes being Kirby, Mega Man, and Sonic. It was finally published in 2017 and garnered pretty positive reviews on Steam for its fast-paced gameplay and its amazing soundtrack. Lake Fepard is the main game designer behind the Sparky Electric Jester series. Being born in Brazil, he worked on Sonic fan games before deciding to start his own career in the indie game industry, and since then he has made a name for himself developing these highly fast-paced platformers. Sparky Electric Jester 2. Sparky Electric Jester 2 is the sequel to the first game, where you play as Fark, the fake robotic jester of Spark 1. The game was originally titled Fark the Electric Jester, though I assumed it got changed due to the silly sounding name admittedly. Though I personally found the game fun, the Steam reviews regarding the game were mixed, saying that its combat system needed a little work and the physics of the platforming were a little disorienting going at high speeds. Sparky Electric Jester 3. Spark 3 is the most recently released Spark game and possibly the last, as Lake Fepard clearly poured his heart and soul into this masterpiece of a platformer, garnering mostly positive reviews on Steam, and the game's popularity has only risen since its launch in August 13th. Guys, go play this masterpiece of a platformer. I assure you, it's truly amazing. Okay, now it's time to get into the actual meat of this franchise. Starting off, we have Fark. Fark is the robotic jester copy of Spark, the main series protagonist. His name is literally just fake Spark, but you just put the F in front of the SP. His motivations and character have changed drastically throughout the series, but in the first game, he was simply a robotic clone of Spark, meant to take over his job and be a nuisance to the Jester. Overall, I feel like this robot is a clear favorite among Spark fans. Spark's job. Spark originally started off as a circus clown for some place in FM City, but he got his job replaced by Fark, the electric robot. This led him to despise robots and hate them entirely for ruining his economic life and possibly putting him into poverty. So, oopsie. Dr. Armstrong. Dr. Armstrong is the most mechanical genius of the Spark world, being responsible for developing multiple AIs that are crucial to the world's survival, and also being tasked with creating the supercomputer known as Metagraph. Metagraph is the strongest supercomputer on the planet of Luna, Spark's world planet, and it's capable of creating AI, with the most important being Clarity. Clarity is the world's strongest AI, being capable of creating robots and androids as intelligent as living life forms. One such of these androids is Astra. Clarity was so important to Metagraph that Armstrong developed a robot to protect it from any protesters or rebels. That robot's name was Freon. Freon is, I think, the world's strongest robot of Luna and the final boss to Sparky Electric Jester 1. He was the one responsible for creating the virus that took over all of the robots in the rebellion and tried to eliminate all living life on Luna. Though he gets destroyed at the end of the first game, he gets brought back to life in the second game and you have to fight him again as Fark. The Metagraph crew. These were a group of robots, Romalo, Kirana, Metagram, that got disinfected with the Freon virus at the end of the first game and helped Spark infiltrate the Metagraph fortress and fleet in order to go to the final level. I'm not gonna lie, I quite personally miss these little goofballs. Sparky Electric Jester music artist. So the music in Sparky Electric Jester is legendary for anybody who's played the games. The kickstarting funds went mostly to developing this amazing soundtrack, and notable people that were on that soundtrack were Funk Fiction, who worked on No Straight Roads, Andy Tunstall, a notable person for many reasons, and Falk A. Young, a person who worked on the Sonic Mania soundtrack, and many more talented artists such as James Ladino, Paul Beathers, and Andy Stutter, just to name a few. Seriously, go give their music a listen to, I highly recommend it. Sonic before the sequel, After the Sequel, and Chrono Adventure. These were a series of fan games that Lake Feppert worked on before his development on Sparky Electric Jester, and they're some of the best Sonic fan games out there in my opinion. They take place between the mainline Sonic games 1, 2, 3, and CD, and the animation and sprite work in those games look gorgeous, and the gameplay is a one-to-one of the Genesis ones. I highly recommend you go watch it. If not, at least watch the cutscenes, man. The Super Staff. Now, the Super Staff is the final weapon you use to defeat Freon at the end of Spark 1. Spark gives it to you after you defeat him in Metagraph Fleet, but the Super Staff has never shown up in a game ever since that moment. Some of you might have wondered what happened to such a powerful weapon that was used to defeat one of the strongest beings in the planet. Well, I guess it's still standing on top of that mountain. I guess no one's gonna try to, steal it and use it for their own gain. No, that would never happen. Luna. Luna is the planet which the Spark series takes place. It is the moon of Earth and was terraformed by two mega corporations, Megadre and Terradot Inc. Terradot Inc. was responsible for the terraforming process of the planet, and Megadre was responsible for that giant ring thingy you see that controls the climate. Though Luna is supposed to be the size of the moon, Lake Feppert once said in a live stream that there are supposedly trillions of Formies living on it. So, good luck seeing how that works out. Formies. Formies are the little creatures that Spark is. They are usually a meter tall, and they are basically like ants that can reproduce by unknown ways. Apparently, Spark is small even for a Formie, and that's why he's super light and is able to travel way faster than most of them would be able to. Also, I'm pretty sure this one's a murderer. Fark Force. The Fark Force is a robot organization created by Fark at the end of Sparky Electric Jester 2 that was, quite literally, built in a day, and the Force basically took over the entire world and shut down basically all communications to the web in order to stop Clarity from taking over the world. How ironic. Though there are many protesters against this force, you can see them get locked up in Protest Prison, and even see the protests happening in Protest City. A really cool world-building detail. Fark's story. In Sparky Electric Jester 1, Fark had his own story mode, which had these weird line work black creatures attack you in between bosses that were much harder than the original game's bosses. Though this story relied on you basically fighting off the Freon infection is what I think is going on here. It was not made canon after certain updates and was completely decanonized in Sparky Electric Jester 2. So we'll never know what that was truly about, but man, that was some wacky stuff. Flint, Float, and Double. The classic robot trio of Spark 2. Each of their names are based off of programming lingo, Float being an obvious number, Double being another decimal number placeholder in programming languages, and Flint being a programming language in of itself. I think that's a pretty clever naming scheme. Their task in Spark 2 is basically to try and fail to stop Fark on his journey to stop Freon, but their characters get way more fleshed out in Spark 3, with Float's story being quite heartwarming, and Double's and Flint's being actually tragic. But the way they come together in the end is quite cool. Oh, and also EJ is part of the group, though he's not really a big part of the game despite his numerous appearances, and EJ stands for Electric Jester for those who are wondering. Unit 1 and Unit 2. These are the true names of Freon and Fark, Freon being Unit 1 and Fark being Unit 2, since he's the son of Freon and was created in his image. If you notice, Freon's design looks a lot like Prototype from the first game. This is because the Prototype robot that you fight in Mari Desert was actually supposed to be the final boss of the first game, but Lake Feppert changed it for some reason. Sparks. Man, that's a hard name to pronounce. Anyway, Sparks is the final form that Fark and Spark take in Sparky Electric Jester 3. In the end, they do a Dragon Ball fusion, and they look like this thing. Gotta say, I'm not a fan of the design, but man, they're powerful. This transformation, or fusion, has also prompted the fanbase to make tons of Spark x Spark fan art. So hey, check that out if you're interested. Spark x Friday Night Funkin'. So this is referring to the credits of Sparky Electric Jester 3, where they're in the style of the popular rhythm game Friday Night Funkin'. Choco. Choco is a female variant of Spark that Lake Feppert originally planned to be the protagonist of Spark 3, but he cancelled that. Since then, the idea of Choco being Spark's little or older sister, I forgot, has prompted the fanbase, and it's really adorable to see fan art of these two. Also, the personality that they gave her was aggressive but loving. Unhinged Spark. Unhinged Spark was a concept that was going to have Spark go, well, crazy in the middle of Spark 1's story, but it was scrapped for probably obvious reasons, but I'm curious to know why Lake Pepper even thought of this idea in the first place. You can find sprite work for it on the Spark wiki, which is quite hilarious. Smog City. In the original Sparky Electric Jester, Smog City was just supposed to be a cutscene and not its own playable stage, but luckily he put it in, as I think it's one of the best stages in the game. Magnet Dash. The Magnet Dash is a really cool speedrunning strat that first appeared in Sparky Electric Jester 2. The way you perform it is you home onto an enemy using the Jester Dash, and then you dash as soon as you activate the homing attack, so that you keep your momentum through the homing attack. Though I originally thought this was an exploit or glitch, I think that Lake Pepper intentionally made this a movement option in the third game, as it's way more polished and is actually pretty necessary to get the diamond rank in some of these levels. If so, then congrats on him for engaging with the speedrunning community. Kirby power-ups. In Sonic After the sequel specifically, you can find a pretty obvious nod to Kirby abilities with the Jester hat, which allows you to shoot a beam a la Beam Kirby with Sonic. This might have been the early concepts of Sparky Electric Jester right before our eyes, and he adds even more abilities in Sonic Chrono Adventure, which I have not played. So hey, if y'all are ever wondering where the inspiration for the Jester powers came from, it might have been these specific power-ups in these fan games. Spark 3 ending. The ending to Sparky Electric Jester 3 is probably the most controversial and insane part of the game. At the end, it is revealed that Clarity, the robot that you have been fighting against, has basically already taken over the world and has assimilated everything into its sort of matrix, and that the game you've been playing so far has been a complete simulation. They even make nods to other ways you could play the game, taking it slow or doing speedruns of the game. This, in turn, freaks Spark, and thus the audience, completely out, as it completely recontextualizes the entire story up until this point. Most people don't like it because of how confusing it is, but I don't know, I found it kind of charming. What do you guys think? Do you think that this ending was good or not? Tell me in the comments. Unused music tracks. There are unused music tracks in almost every Spark game, which are usually just beta versions of already popular ones in the game, though there are some tracks that are completely original that were just never used in the game. Such are the boss theme for Spark 1 right here. Do you think that some of these tracks should have stayed in the game, or are any good entirely? I think some of them are, but most of them sound generic. Beta stages in Sparky Electric Jester. In the first game, there are quite a few beta stages, and even beta versions of stages already in the game, such as Corona Forest. There's even this test stage in the game, which never gets used, but you can find if you have the project files for Sparky Electric Jester. Beta stages in Spark 2. Just like Spark 1, there are some beta stages in the early demos of Sparky Electric Jester 2, which, might I add, have some better aesthetics than the stages found in the actual game. Plus, they have way more open-ended level design, so in my opinion, some of these should have stayed. But what do I know? Unused boss. In Sparky Electric Jester 2, there is an unused boss called Giant Gorilla that looks like this thing. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and assume that this was removed due to space limitations, or because Lake Pepper didn't think it fit in with the rest of the game. It looks cool though. Spark's Vacation. Sparky Electric Jester goes on vacation after he gets done defeating Freon at the end of the first game. So, hey, someone should make a fan game out of that. Like Spark's Paradise, or Spark Goes to Hawaii. Make a fan game out of that, guys. Click Team Fusion and the project files. Click Team Fusion was the game engine used to make the first Spark game, and every single Sonic fan game that Lake Pepper worked on. Though the engine is good for beginners, it is notoriously hard to work with, especially when dealing with more complicated stuff. Also, the Spark 1 project files can be found somewhere on the internet, but I would have no clue to where those would possibly be. Anyway, I bought the game engine as it's really fun to use, though it costs $99, so I hope you have a huge wallet if you're planning on making fan games for Spark. Hedgeland. Hedgeland is the game engine used for Sparky Electric Jester 2 and 3. It's a game engine made by Lake Feppard with, I think, the help of some friends, though it was mostly by him, and it runs off of the Unity game engine, but adds physics that make it easier to make Sonic games in Unity. This is why the platforming in Spark 3 and 2 feels so smooth, and why the combat system is much more polished in Spark 3. You can find tutorials for both Hedgeland and Click Team Fusion on Lake Feppard's official YouTube channel, and I gotta say, he goes in depth with these. Jeez, look at these links. So yeah, definitely check him out if you're ever planning on using either of these engines. I sure have. Protest Prison. If you listen closely to the theme of Protest Prison in Spark 3, it has quite the similar resemblance to Prison Island from Shadow the Hedgehog. Coincidence? I think not! Also, people even point this out under the comments of Protest Prison in Spark 3. Sparky Electric Jester 4. So as you know, at the end of Spark 3, Spark takes over the Matrix that Clarity once had control over, and basically plans to kill himself, but Fark stops him and is the only remaining Formy in the simulation. From here, it is highly insinuated that they're going to build a new world inside of the simulation, and that is the main concept for a potential Spark 4, which I don't really think is going to happen. But if it were to happen, there are many fans of the Spark series that believe it to be an open world game where you play as Spark and travel through this gigantic, enormous matrix. There's already fans making concept art for this potential fourth game, so I don't know, it could happen. XF Drive. XF Drive is a racing game created by Lake Feppard that was later cancelled for unknown reasons, though you can see bits and pieces of XF Drive in the car sections of Spark 3, so I don't know, maybe he didn't cancel it after all. We'll just have to wait and see. Spark 3 early release. This is just the fact that Spark 3 released a day early for pretty much everyone, and the reason behind this is that Lake Feppard has stated that he doesn't like to delay his games once they're finished, and usually they're delayed entirely because of the soundtrack alone, which happened for Spark 1 and Sonic after the sequel, I think. Either way, I think we were all happy to play this amazing masterpiece of a game in its entirety one day early before we planned to. Spark Plushie. So, Lake Feppard made in a live stream not too long ago that would there ever be merchandise for Sparky Electric Jester, in which he said no, but little did we know, a few months later he would have made full-on Spark plushies that you can buy right now, I think, don't quote me on that, which look just amazing. His character design just works perfectly with the adorable plushie aesthetic. Spark's money. So, if you remember quite fondly in the story of Spark 3, the Fark Force shut down all communications with the web, including banks, so that begs the question, did Spark ever get his money back? If so, he has to be in a ton of debt after going on a full vacation, and you know that those resorts aren't cheap, let me tell you. So, does that mean Spark was really fighting the Fark Force just so he wouldn't have to go into debt? That's quite hilarious if it is. Spark and Sonic after the sequel. This is a mod that you can find on game.io, I think, that basically places Spark in Sonic after the sequel, though it's not finished if I do recall correctly. This is just the first of many Spark mods that are potentially coming in the future, and as a Spark fan, I am really excited as to what the future holds for the fan community. Spectra and DJ. Spectra is Lake Feppard's girlfriend, and DJ is one of his best friends that helped him work on Spark 3, though it was only as the voice actor of Shopalo in The Shop. You can hear him doing the dialogue options in the live stream that he hosted a few months ago.
Alright.
So the stream is ending. See you guys.
Oh Lord.
Lake hates trains, but loves motorcycles. This is something that he said himself in the live stream that happened a few months ago. And this is quite ironic considering the fact that there are tons of trains in his level designs for the Sonic fan games and his Spark games. Also, he apparently only likes motorcycles without manual drives.
I'm really not a fan of trains at all. Uh,
Ask him about motorcycles, then he'll talk.
I'm not even that big into. Well, I like scooters. Like,
Oh yeah, scooters.
the motorcycles, they're all manuals, and like I know how to drive a manual, but I can't stand them anymore. It's great. But on the trains thing though, look, the train is just a 3D model that moves in a straight line and can be a hitbox. It's a very easy stage hazard that like works within stages. Makes sense because obviously Spark getting run over by a train would hurt him. And it's a cool set piece to just have a train like going around like super fast. It gives you all like this wow moment, like wow, holy shit.
Spark is gay. This isn't canon or anything, but the fanbase will sure make you think it is with how much fan art there is of Spark with Fark or any other characters, which I find that quite endearing, you know? Wind Jester and Edgy Jester. This isn't a secret lore thing or anything, I just wanted to say that the Wind Jester is simply overpowered in Spark the Electric Jester 1, with it by far being the best mobile option, and in Spark 2, the Edgy Jester is the same, with most speedruns not even thinking of taking place without having it in the first 5 seconds of the run. That's probably why I ranked it on the top of my tier list, which you can find here. Plus, the Wind Jester's design looks a lot like Colgate toothpaste, man. Titanic Tower. Titanic Tower is originally a level from Sonic before the sequel that was then adapted into Sparky Electric Jester 2, so that's cool. Also, Lake Feppard added an early ending to the level since he feared that new players wouldn't be able to complete the level due to its really high steep in difficulty. So I quite enjoy its cool verticality as well as its calm OST. For that reason, it is my favorite level of Spark 2, and I like that this cool level got adapted from a fan game of all things. Spark with pants. Apparently, there is an existence of an image of Spark wearing pants on Lake Feppard's Tumblr. I don't know if this was a joke or if it was originally part of his design, but it's funny either way. Also, people keep asking Lake whether or not Spark will start wearing pants since he wears a coat in Spark 3, to which the answer is no. Historia Hysteria. Probably one of the most unique levels in the entire Spark franchise, and easily one of the most recognizable in Spark 3. The secret to that planetarium room thingy is that Lake said he put 2 cameras in the room, and one is tracked to the rotation of the character Spark, which he plays as, which creates the gorgeous effect that is so iconic to the stage. Spark likes burgers. Again, I don't think this is really a lore-heavy thing, but I just want to note that Lake Feppard said that burgers are Spark's favorite food, which, if that's the case, and Sonic likes chili dogs as his favorite food, does that mean Lilac from Freedom Planet likes pizza as her favorite food, to complete the trifecta of fast-paced platformers? Marius Arusu. Marius Arusu is a YouTuber with over 300,000 subscribers that conveniently made the 2 most viewed Spark videos on the internet, that being the Spark 3 demo, which he showcases that has 100,000 views, and one of the more recent videos he's made of him playing through Hyper Fleet DLC on Spark 3, which has over 1 million views. That's quite impressive, I gotta say. Spark Early 3D Model. Spark has an early 3D model for a cutscene that takes place in Sunset Heights. I think it got scrapped, but originally it looked like this, and it was supposed to be the cutscene for Sunset Heights, but in 3D instead of this cool animation. Andy Tunstall. Andy Tunstall is an important figure in the Sparky Electric Jester franchise that I don't think many fans quite understand how big he is. He was responsible for working on many of the OSTs for the game, as well as creating the official artwork for the game series, such as this, and a ton of concept art for the series as a whole. He was also responsible for the only 3 lyrical tracks in the Spark franchise, that being the 2 special boss themes from Spark 1 and 2, and the ultimate final boss from Spark 2. So make sure y'all show him some respect if y'all ever see him. Castella Blanca. In the original build of Spark the Electric Jester 2, Castella Blanca had this massive skip in the level where if you fell down the tower at the right angle, you could basically go directly to the end. See right here. Pacific Abyss. I'm not gonna lie, 90% of the reason I put this here is because it matches the name of the point of the iceberg we're at right now. But Fun fact, Pacific Abyss is the sole reason why there's fall damage in Spark 3 to begin with. Lake Pepper had a cool idea for this level where you're mostly going downward, and he didn't want players to cheese the level by just falling and then jumping at the last second to avoid fall damage. So that's how we have a whole mechanic in the game. Totally worth it. Super Fark. Now I know y'all are probably wondering why this is so low down on the Iceberg, but rather not Super Fark himself, but the way you can attain him in Spark 2. You can get Super Fark as an actual playable character in the game if you complete all of the diamond medals for the tracks and get all of the diamond score medals for each level, which good luck to anyone who accomplishes that because that is not an easy task. But if you manage to do that, you are able to play as Super Fark in regular levels. Spark Discord server. Did you all know that there is a Spark Discord server called Jester Central where me and other Spark fans congregate and talk about this amazing franchise? I asked some of them for help to work on this Iceberg video, so make sure you check it out if you're ever interested or bored and want to discuss the game with other people. There are lots of good fan art and memes in there, plus you can talk to me if you're really bored one day. Spark and Sonic Twitter drama. So, as you know, Spark gets compared to the Sonic franchise a lot, mostly for the fact that it's better than it, and with the recent release of Sonic Frontiers, apparently on Twitter there's been a lot of controversy concerning the game's fan bases, with the Sonic fanbase apparently being antagonistic towards the Spark one, and the Spark one, being the little team, kind of being bullied. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know much about this topic outside of just gossip, so if anyone knows better than me, be sure to put your comment there. I will probably pin it as I want to know more about this drama. Spark's hat and Jester University. I'm not gonna lie, this should be way higher on the Iceberg, but I made some mistakes, so here we go. Spark's hat is actually where his electric powers come from, and he developed it during his time at his university where he was working on being a jester, I guess. It was originally used to do magic tricks, but I guess he made it powerful enough to literally destroy robots, so hey, that's some impressive engineering skill he's got there. Romulo and Shapalo. These two characters are related, I think, but Romulo's character gets very ruined in Spark 2 in my opinion, with him seemingly acting like a child in front of Astra, while Shapalo is the based, cooler, older brother. This is completely made up in my mind, by the way. I have no clue if they're related or not, but I'm pretty sure Shapalo is a drug dealer, so that makes him 10 times cooler. Unused Jester power-ups. In Spark Electric Jester 1, there are a crap ton of unused power-ups that Lake Pepper removed probably because they were too buggy or because they were too overpowered. Some examples of these Jester powers were the Boost Shoes, the Red Sword, Bumper Gloves, and Metrotonic, just to name a few. Check out this website if you want to see more about them. They're quite interesting. Also, on the power-up side, Spark 3 originally planned to have more power-ups, but just kept it at the Reaper Jester due to the fact that Lake wanted to add playable characters instead of power-ups such as Float and Fart. Spark the Electric Jester art book. Many people know that there's a Spark the Electric Jester 2 art book, but most people don't know that there's one for the first game as well. This is actually pretty hard to find, but many of the images in here are just concept art for the enemies, as well as concept art for the many power-ups in the game. Demo swearing. The Spark 2 demo had a lot of swearing between Fark and EJ. I think this was just an edgy phase that Lake Pepper was going through because he later removed the swearing from the actual game, which is quite funny if I do say so myself. Terraforming. Deep throughout the Spark lore, it's actually confirmed that the Formies can terraform and have been terraforming other planets throughout the solar system using their superior technology. If this is the case, does that mean Spark 4 could potentially have you go to other planets besides just the Earth's moon? Nah, that would be way too much for an indie developer. FM City Graffiti. If you look closely to the sprite work in the backgrounds of FM City, and other stages for that matter, you can see various signs and posts of the graffiti. Most of them just tell you what to do on the stage, such as get dashy, but if you look closely, one of them says a joke. Man rushed to hospital for no apparent reason. I have yet to find the signage anywhere throughout the level, so if anyone finds it, make sure to point it out to me, as I'm pretty sure it's there according to people from the server. Hacked screen. This is another Easter egg that people have told me about, but I've never heard of in the Spark lore. It's apparently a hacked screen you can find in Spark Electric Jester, but the only thing I can really think of is the pause screen glitch that you can find in Sunfire Forest in the 8th stage of the game. Freon Virus. I know we covered this way earlier on the Iceberg, but apparently there are 2 robots that didn't get affected by the virus that can be found in Network Coast. Their names are CPT, Ipia Anderson, and the rest of the crew. I assume it's these robots here that you fight in a boss fight, but honestly I have no clue what they're talking about here. Spark 3 demo. This one again is not very obscure, but if you listen to Lake Feppard's livestream, he said that he made the Spark 3 demo as a way to get players familiarized with the controls so that they don't complain as much when they play the actual game. A big brain moved on his behalf, if I do say so myself. Clarity in Undertale. Once again, this isn't a very obscure thing to know, but if you look at Clarity's design, it heavily resembles Frisk from Undertale. Something that was a complete coincidence, according to Lake. Sumokin Productions. This is a notorious YouTuber in the Spark fanbase for making bad reviews of Spark 2. In these reviews, which were the most popular Spark videos at the time, they heavily criticize, albeit faultly criticize, the Spark games, and they have an egregious use of Lake Feppard's actual face, which I'm obviously not going to show. Lake Feppard's old Newgrounds animations. Apparently, a long time ago, Lake Feppard had animations on the internet, but he briskly deleted them, probably because he thought they were very cringy and did not want people to see them. Which, hey man, I feel you. We all have something in the closet like that. Final boss theme. There are only 3 lyrical tracks in the entire Spark series, 2 of which are final boss themes, and the last of which being the replaced final boss theme for Spark Electric Jester 2, which is, well you know, done by Andy Tunstall, that amazing music artist. These tracks are some of the best music the Spark series has to offer. Fark Siblings. If you think and look at the game series really closely, you can realize that Freon, being Fark's father technically, implies that Clarity is his mother, which would mean that EJ and Astra are Fark's siblings. If that's the case, does that mean Fark spends the entirety of Spark 2 and 3 killing his entire family? Man, that's dark. Drop dash. So apparently in Spark the Electric Jester, he was supposed to get a drop dash, which makes sense since Sonic Mania came out a few months before that game, but Lake never went through with it for pretty obvious reasons. Stariostropolis. Stariostropolis is the 10th stage in Spark 2, and it's notorious among players for being ridiculously fast to speedrun. Here's my personal best time on it. Spark vs. Sonic. As I said, the Spark franchise gets compared to Sonic, and that is not alone in gameplay. There's fan animations of them fighting, with this one being the most notable, which I've watched a lot of times. You should go check it out. Techno. One of the more prominent members of the Spark community, he's an amazing artist that is a part of the Jester Central Discord server that I'm friends with, and I hope he likes me featuring him in this video. With him being said, the next on this list is Farkle, another YouTube channel that is kind of focused around Spark content like mine. He is the host of his own Discord server, the Farkle Force, which I'm also a part of, and he makes fan mods for the Spark series, so y'all should go check him out as well. Finally, at the end of this iceberg, we have PlexiTier. These last 2 are purely just for fun, I'm not gonna lie, but as you know, I'm a channel that covers mostly Spark content and enjoys making video essays of games, and specifically indie games that I enjoy. And for the final item on this iceberg, we have Ace the Fire Magician, a fan-made character by PlexiTier who probably is going to get their own game soon. Nah, but seriously, thanks everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed this incredibly long video where I dive deep into the Spark franchise and uncover its hidden secrets. I also hope you had fun trying to guess the secrets I would choose in this video and figuring them out yourself. Tell me how far you guys got before things started to become too obscure to the point where you didn't know it, as well as tell me anything I missed because man, I know I missed a lot. I might make a secondary video just to cover all the stuff I missed because man, this tiny little indie franchise has a lot going on in it. With that being said, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace.